Hey guys, so I had this dream from the evening of Friday the 1st through to the morning of Saturday the 2nd of August 2025, and this one was strong and striking and important. I have to put it out immediately. Please refer to the disclaimer in the description box below if you've not already done so. I'll get straight into it. So, I'm dreaming about other stuff, kind of dreamy, nonsensical, irrelevant, and then scene switched, and this is weird, but it kind of makes sense. So I was going, and I don't remember all of this. Some of it was a bit vague, but what came afterwards was very clear. So I'll just describe it as I remember it, the first part. The second part is crystal clear, not vague at all. But basically, I went through a series of scenes where, in the dream, some woman in my country, in New Zealand, had accused me of doing something terrible, and then and I hadn't done it, and then I was running and I was being chased, and it was a dream, so it didn't make sense. So there were points where I was flying through the air from rooftop to rooftop to escape, basically, uh, people who were hunting me because of a false accusation. And what this was pointing towards, in terms of a symbolic level, is the fact that there's a gender war that's happening between male and men and women to a large extent in the Anglo-Saxon countries at this time. So the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and it's there are forces that are working to divide our societies on all levels, and the main split they focus on is gender because it's a 50-50 split, but they also like to politics, religion, ethnicity. Sexuality is one they've been focusing on in recent years, and there are these endless ways you can divide people into different kind of boxes, and then you pit them against each other, right? And yeah, that's probably not completely unrelated to the second part of the dream because, well, there are forces that are doing that by themselves in our countries, but it's also important to understand that definitely these uh, this kind of identity group politics this series of identity politics group wars we're seeing in our countries, they're being pushed and funded and encouraged by hostile countries that are hostile towards us, which we will soon be fighting in World War III, including Russia. And it's basics of cultural Marxism, really. You just yeah, it never ends well. It always ends in horrific violence and often, genocides and wars, things like this. Anyway, that was the first part of the dream, but the, it wasn't. I was someone else in the dream, like I was some random guy, but I'd been falsely accused by some woman of doing something. I was being like, my life had been destroyed. Like I was having to basically flee from place to place, um, and that was kind of symbolic of the damage that this has done to our societies. But then here comes the part that kind of links the two, first and second half of the dream. I'm this guy who's really disaffected and uh, doesn't have much community, and his life kind of sucks. And then it kind of switched. I think the first part, it seemed like I was in New Zealand, but the second part, I kind of think it symbolized all the five Anglo-Saxon countries because the second part I was kind of the same person in the same scenario, but I was American. And I saw Vladimir Putin sitting in front of me, and I remember in the dream he was very calm, and in the dream he seemed to me to be. I was like, man, I want to I want to be on this guy's side. Like it wasn't just he didn't seem calm. He seemed, from my perspective in the dream, benevolent and like a friend. I'm like, f this country, f this society. I'm done. I'm switching. I'm done. I'm switching teams. And I handed it in the dream. He was smart. He was kind of looking at me, but it was friendly demeanor. I was like, this guy's my friend. I'm switching teams. And yeah, like in the dream, I could feel like I was like, right, yeah, I'm switching sides. I want Russia doesn't have Russia has, for all its problems, has unity, more unity, and they don't. you know, these issues don't, identity politics issues aren't so much of a thing in Russia, and I prefer a society with more traditional values. That was what I was thinking as the person in the dream, not as me, to be clear. It was sort of, it was someone else, and it was like kind of seeing like, but I was this person in the dream, and I handed him this piece of paper, and then he looked at it, and then I looked at it, and I looked closer, and there were 6 lines of script, and it was written in English, and that was latitude and longitude coordinates, and they were the coordinates of American missile silos for launching nuclear missiles. So I was. The stream was basically God showing me there's been a catastrophic intelligence failure at like the highest levels. What was being shown symbolically is that certain individuals have become, in the US, I think potentially in other Anglo-Saxon countries, but definitely in the US, have become so disaffected and alienated from their own country and culture by all this internal cultural conflict, and are so fed up with it that they're switching teams. And I was shown, like God showing me via the Holy Spirit directly that like the US's military intelligence has suffered a catastrophic failure, and Russia has detailed information on like extremely highly classified information about the US's nuclear weapons, where they're based. And I also had a message in the dream. It was like a download. I got told it was. Yeah, to be honest, it came through as a feeling, but the words came through as a feeling, but it was clearance codes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. It's being shown. Defectors, American defectors, and it could be defectors. I was definitely being shown that part. Also, it could just, I think it was saying in general, I think Russian espionage and foreign agents have also just really infiltrated the US, and that's been made easier through all this internal division and conflict that they've been ironically been helping to sow. Russia and China are not isolated from these issues. They're helping to drive them because it helps to weaken their enemy. But so some of this information that Russia, it was definitely, I was specifically being shown Russia having it. That's what Putin represented. Some of this information they have on the location of where these military missile silos are located and what the launch codes are would be from defectors. Some of this other information would probably just have been acquired by spies, through espionage by Russia and probably other countries as well, just taking advantage of that chaos that they've helped to sow. But that's, I mean that's kind of, that explains a lot, because people have been shown when the nuclear strikes, the enemy nuclear strikes hit the US. Other people have been shown this in prophetic dreams, but I hadn't. But other people have been told that all of the US, I'd seen 1 or 2 dreams about this. All their systems were compromised for some reason. For some reason, they didn't fire back. Like people have done simulations for nuclear war between the US and Russia, and some of the simulations, 5 billion people die of starvation, but that's not, and it's most of humanity, 95% of humanity dies, but people have been shown in dreams that's not what actually happens. The US gets hit with between 150 to 200, maybe 250 nuclear weapons in one day, in a massive surprise attack. And people have been shown that the US does fire back. They do send some nuclear missiles back. I saw one video where a woman was shown, more than one person has been shown, that Norfolk, Virginia is going to be one of the cities in the US that's targeted because they have the largest naval base in the world. And when someone was shown, the Christian Prophetic Dream seer YouTuber, that when Norfolk, Virginia is nuked, it's actually the North Koreans that nuke Norfolk, and then the Americans in response nuked a city in North Korea called Kaesong, and but the overall dream picture is that there's this massive knockout blow of nuclear attacks on the US, and the US does respond with, like, they send back nuclear weapons of their own, but the dream consensus is not much, not like it's not nothing near as close to what they get is what they'll put back. So maybe if the US gets, say, hit by 250 nuclear weapons in a day, they might send back 50 or 70 or 80, but like not much more than that. That's kind of, yeah, that's the prophetic dream consensus I've seen from all the videos I've watched about this. There's a limit, there's a nuclear response, but it's extremely limited, which is there's this idea of mutually assured destruction, which is kind of what people had been banking on would actually prevent nuclear war since the Cold War. It's like, well, if we've got them, they've got them, and if they use them, we use them, and then the world blows up. So no one's going to use them because it means mutually assured destruction. But no, God was showing me like that's mutually assured destruction. That's not going to happen. And I had a previous stream, I'll put the link in the description box below, where God showed me that World War III will go nuclear, but it won't destroy the world. But this was information on why. The nuclear exchange, the big one, when the US gets hit, I mean, if the US responded with everything they had, probably, it might kill 5 billion people or 95% of the world's population, but it's not what happens. And apparently it's because, catastrophic intelligence failure. The Russians know where huge numbers of the American missiles are, and not just that, knowing that they can, apparently they've got the launch codes, so they can shut them down remotely. So the Americans, when they get hit, will go to hit back, and like 80 to 90% of their nukes will do nothing. That's basically the implication. So people think it's, America has all these nuclear weapons, and that if Russia hits them, then they'll hit back, and then it'll be absolutely catastrophic. That's not what's going to happen. The US will be attacked, and it will be absolutely catastrophic for the US, but then because of this catastrophic intelligence failure, the nuclear response from the US will be extremely limited, because their enemies will have, they've got all this information. They'll just freaking turn them off remotely, or blow them up, or just, they'll sabotage them so they don't work. So this dream connects a few dots together, but it's pretty sobering one for the US, and I don't think it's an accident. I think this was maybe like a confirmation, but today Trump deployed nuclear, massive submarines close to Russia as like a show of strength that I think are nuclear capable, and that was, to signal the US's displeasure with Russia's conduct and, continuing to wage the war against Ukraine. But God's showing me, unfortunately, unknown to almost everyone, including the Americans and most people in the American military themselves, it's bluster, because they can't back it up. Because, when push comes to shove, and it does, there is a limit, there is a nuclear exchange between the US and Russia. Because of defectors who have defected to Russia because they're so fed up with like how messed up their countries have become and how it's messed up their own lives, and also because Russia and espionage, they're just the agents and spies have taken advantage of the situation. They've got data, they've got locations and information about all the nuclear weapons, where they are and stuff, and they've got information about the launch codes. They can. I'll be repeating myself for stating only, so it's not going to go down how people think. It will go down. Even a lot of people high up in the US military, because people don't know this. This is happening behind the scenes, all in secret. It's just stuff God's showing me, that just like the truth. So it's pretty scary from allied American perspective. But it makes sense and it explains a lot. So I mean, that's it. I mean, catastrophic intelligence failure when it comes to nuclear weapons is, oh boy, bad, 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 bad. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. All the best, and yeah, God bless. Cheers.